Alright everyone, today's notes are over converting a decimal, fraction, and percent from one to the other. Mine are going on page 34, so your table of contents should be filled out first. This is the outside of our notes today. We're not going to write anything on the front. And this is one of those ones that becomes a book when we fold it. Okay, so here we go. First one we're going to do is convert from a fraction to a decimal. So let's say our beginning fraction was 5/11ths. The denominator goes on the outside. The numerator goes on the inside. When we have a whole number, the decimal goes after the whole number. And then since there's no decimal on the outside, we're just going to raise it to the roof. So we know 11 can't go into 5, so that's going to be a 0. So we're going to add a 0 here. 11 can go into 50 4 times. 4 times 11 is 44. Remember, once we raise that to the roof, we get to ignore it now. So we got 50 minus 44 gives us a 6. We're going to add another 0 to bring down. 11 can go into 60 5 times. Which leaves us with a 5. We're going to bring down another 0. 11 can go into 50 4 times. Make that a little longer. Minus 44 gives us another 6. I'm going to bring down another 0. 11 can go into 60 5 times. And that's just going to keep going like that. So we know that 0.4545, this 45 is just going to keep repeating. Okay? So we got our fraction into our decimal. So 5/11ths equals 0.45 repeating. Now before we do any of these other ones, I want to show you this triangle. So on the triangle, we've got fraction, decimal, and percent. If we have to go fraction to decimal, we divide. Okay, so that's what that symbol means. It goes to this outside arrow, and it means we divide. To go from decimal to percent, we multiply by 100. To go from percent to fraction, we're going to stick the percentage over 100, and then we just have to simplify. Okay, so that goes to this line. But let's say we want to go the opposite way. If we want to go decimal to fraction, okay, so if we're going to go decimal to fraction, you're going to read it. You're going to write what it says. And then you're going to reduce it. If we want to go percent to decimal, it's divide by 100, which means we're going to move the decimal 2 places left. If we want to go fraction to percent, we convert to the decimal, convert to percent. Okay, so now let's go back to our examples. To go fraction to percent, so we're going fraction to percent, and that's our most recent green arrow we did right here. If we start with 7/9, we have to divide that. 9 into 7. I'm just going to go ahead and put my 0.0 in right now. Raise my roof for my decimal. 9 goes into 7, 0. 9 goes into 70 7 times. 9 times 7 is 63, which leaves me with 7. I'm going to bring down another 0. 9 goes into 7, or 9 goes into 70 7 times, which is 63. Bring down another one, and you can see right now it's always going to be 70. It's always going to be a 7, so your decimal is 0.77 repeating. Then, to get from a fraction to a percent, you have to convert to a decimal, which we did here, and then convert that decimal to a percent, which if we do decimal to percent, that's this outside arrow. We just multiply it by 100, or 2 places right on your decimal is the same thing. So 0.77, we move that decimal 2 places to the right, it's 77%. Or if you want to get more specific, 77.7 repeating percent. Okay? Either one will work. Down here for decimal to percent. Okay? Decimal to percent is this arrow. If we start off with 0.98, and it tells us times 100, which is 2 places to the right, we're going to go 1, 2, which is 98%. If we have something like 0.651, and we go 1, 2 to the right, it's 65.1%. Going up here to the top. Going decimal to fraction, which goes from here to here. It's our green arrow. If we have 0.731, first thing we have to do is read it. So if it's 0.731, this is tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So this is 731 thousandths. That's how you read it. Okay? Then we write it. So we read, we write, and then we have to reduce. Okay? 731 is a prime number. We can't reduce it. So this is your answer. If we do something a little simpler like 0.2, this is 2 in the tenths spot, which means we write it as 2 tenths. When we reduce it, we know 2 and 10. 2 is a factor of 10, which reduces it to 1/5. And we remember from our page we had to have memorized before that 1/5 is 20%. But since we're only going decimal to fraction on this one, 1/5 is your answer. This is just good to practice because you have to be able to memorize those ones. Okay, next up is percent to fraction. So here's our percent, here's our fraction. This is our outside dark arrow, which says we just put it over 100 and then simplify. So if we have 35%, we're going to put that over 100. And I know that both of these can be divided by 5. 35 divided by 5 is 7. 100 divided by 5 is 20. So our fraction is 7/20. Last one is percent to decimal. That's percent to decimal. That's our green arrow. So it says we're going to either divide by 100 or we can just move 2 places left. So if we have 36.4%, I'm going to move 2 to the left, 1, 2. That's 0.364. If I have 52%, I move 2 to the left, 1, 2. That's 0.52. Okay, if you have any questions, send me a message. These are getting folded. Then I'm going to page 34 in my notebook. That's a glue. Making sure it's on there nice and tight. Beautiful notes on the inside, and you're good to go for the day. See you in class.